there is a British obsession with maps, and that leads to awful situations. The West has been in a state of terminal decline for a very long time. I considered China, considered Silicon Valley, Argentina, Turkey, Australia, New Zealand. India is by far the most interesting and exciting place in the world. India, more than anywhere on Earth, is a microcosm of the macrocosm. Could have gone to Bangalore, could have gone to Bombay, I could have gone to Goa, but I chose Delhi. Climate in Delhi is really exciting if you're a tree or a bird. It's a very seductive place, Delhi. Why you have gods and goddesses and consorts. I was making reels like nobody's watching. So Vedic ritual and offerings and yajnas are incredibly scientific. The cliched stereotypes of the colonial mindset only saw one side.
Welcome to a Delhi love, Nick, but Delhi is already a city that you love dearly.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love Delhi. I had the option of, when you're an outsider, when you're not born in India, you can choose anywhere in India to become your home. So I traveled over the country for 2 years, 2007-8. Could have gone to Bangalore, could have gone to Bombay, I could have gone to Goa.
But you chose Delhi.
But I chose Delhi.
Yeah, so that makes the love story even more intense, no? That you actually chose instead of it being being born into it. True. We'll come to that later. Nick, before to start, how do you describe yourself and the work that you do?
I never know how to answer this question, which is terrible. And I know you're meant to, in the modern world, you're meant to have your elevator pitch.
Honestly, I do understand this thing of putting yourself in a box, but just to give us a map to go ahead, how do you describe yourself?
Enthusiastic and curious about India. That's the kind of easiest way of describing it.
And the work that you do.
My day job, my main work is helping foreign universities from around the world learn about, from, within and for India. So that means helping them look at whether they want to set up branch campuses, which is now allowed under the Government of India rules, looking at how they can do collaborations with Indian institutions, and the most beautiful part of it, helping their students learn about India. So my wife Meetu and I, we have a business, Indogenius, which we established in 2009, incorporated in 2011, and we run several times a year short courses of 1 to 6 weeks where we bring students from around the world to learn about India and engage with Indian students. They visit businesses, startups, NGOs, government agencies, and we get to travel across this extraordinary country. And of course, we're mostly based in Delhi. Delhi is home, but we do travel all over India several times a year.
That's the day job.
That's the day job.
Yeah. And then there is another job.
Well, then the other Okay,
we'll come to the other job.
Okay, we can talk about the other job.
Yeah, so,
there you go. Surprise, secret. What's the other job? I wonder.
I think enough people know you by then, so they're not wondering what the other job is. But let's start at the beginning, from Britain to Bharat. You could
from Britain to Bharat.
Yeah, that's a new
Wow,
tagline.
there we go. Okay, there's any publishers interested in From Britain to Bharat by Nick Booker.
Remember to give me the credit for
that.
I
will. That's great. I love it.
So, what made you move to India in the first place? You are a historian, and you could have continued. No, historians normally don't move to the place of interest where they're studying the history. What made you decide to move?
So let me tell you a secret, Yasmin. I am not a historian. I read history books. I talk about history. I'm interested in history. But does that make me a historian? I'm not sure. Do you have to get a piece of paper? Well, in that case, academically, I'm a philosopher. And when you say that you're a philosopher, that sounds, dare I say, presumptuous, pompous? It certainly sounds, I certainly feel that way. So I never describe myself, well, I try not to describe myself as a philosopher, but occasionally I do. And other people describe me as a historian because of the work that I do. But I suppose technically, professionally, I'm an educationist. I'm someone who's interested in how we learn, how we research, how we explore subjects and knowledge. And then how do you create the systems in place, whether it be at an institutional level or within one's own kind of pedagogy. I'm an autodidact largely. How do you do that in a way that is engaging and helps flourish
Mm.
our understanding of the world
Mm.
and what it is to be human.
But then, why India?
Why not India? Why anywhere else? I honestly, I don't know why anywhere else. India is by far the most interesting and exciting place in the world. It always has been, it always will be, and therefore it's no surprise that it is right now. And I'm serious when I say that, because India, more than anywhere on earth, is a microcosm of the macrocosm. So India has all the great biospheres. It has glaciers and the highest snow-capped peaks in the world in the Himalayas. It has deserts, the largest, most populous desert in the Thar. It has rainforests. It has Andamans and Lakshadweep. It has coral reefs. It has the grasslands and the plains of Indo-Gangetic Plain. It has the most extraordinary rivers in the world. It is teeming with life and diversity from a natural level, and that has combined with a culture that actually celebrates and benefits from plurality. So combining ideas, mixing them together, which is I personally believe comes from something within the civilizational roots of the land several thousand years ago, and that is absolutely extraordinary, because that means that you've got ethnic variations, language, culture, cuisine, philosophy, art, architecture, everything going on here. And you've even got, biologies of the world. You've got technology and cryptocurrency and deep tech, AI. So you've got all of the science, technology, innovation that you can expect in Silicon Valley, which is, of course, largely Indian run these days anyway.
Yeah.
And you've got all of this extraordinary, deep-rooted, spiritual, cultural culture.
So this was actually a head-led question that
Yes.
This is
Literally.
India is this, and you've been here for 17 years now. So you were essentially very young when you took this decision.
So I was mid-20s.
Yeah.
I was living in England, in London, and I had a profound sense that Britain, by extension Europe, and by extension the Western world, was essentially on an unsustainable trajectory. And I'm not sure that I wanted to be part of that, because I'm naturally quite positive and optimistic. So I took a blank piece of paper and sat at a desk for 6 months. And I worked out the answer to the question, where in the world in 2050, when I'm 70, will be the most interesting, exciting, important? And therefore, where would be the best place for me to spend the rest of my life? And I considered China, considered Silicon Valley, Argentina, Turkey, Australia, New Zealand, and India. So I'd never been to India. I'd never traveled here on a holiday, backpack or anything. And essentially, I got the intellectual or emotional equivalent of a one-way ticket to India, having decided from first principles that we live in the Indian century and that I wanted to be part of it.
And how did your parents react to this when you broke this big Indian news to them?
Mum or dad?
Oh, well, both.
So mum, I think mum found it harder, and she's still very much alive. We talk every other day. She watches NDTV, so she keeps in touch with what's going on in India. We'll talk this evening about everything that's going on, and we. I think it's harder. Maybe it's hard. I don't know. Is it harder for a mother? But it's certainly harder for her. Partly because when I'm going personal here, Yasmin, you're asking questions that are leading me into places. But when I would call home and I'd talk to my dad almost every day when he was alive. He passed away sadly 6 years ago. And dad would talk to me for 20 minutes, half an hour, 40 minutes every day. I mean, we had a very close relationship, and mum would always be out the door, and my dad would kind of, sorry, mum, but and dad, but anyway, he would sort of wave away because we were having an animated conversation. No, I'm just let me finish. And I feel like my mum felt that she didn't get the chance to talk to me so much. So one of the things that's happened since my dad tragically died is that my mum and I actually have the conversations that I used to have with him about Indian news or history or what the Brits are saying in the papers about India or what's going on in England, British politics. So we talk much more. So for mum it was harder. Now maybe it's easier. For my dad, he immediately got it from day one. I mean, we maybe I actually can't remember it, but I'm guessing we sat down for we probably had some calls on over months, and we probably met up every now and then. But I'm pretty sure that we obviously sat down and had lunch at some point, and probably in London, because he used to come up to London once every couple of weeks. And then I'm guessing I would have said to him, I've decided I'm going to go to India, and I think we're living in the Indian century, and I want to be part of it. And he immediately supported me. He thought it made complete sense, completely agreed. He'd written off Britain and the Western world earlier than I had. Probably in the late 60s, I think he realized that the West was in trouble. And therefore he was very supportive. And came out, and he would have retired here, like I mean, in the way that you whatever the legal system.
Why had you written off the Western world?
Oh, the West has been in a state of terminal decline for a very long time, and it's becoming more obvious now. But in terms of culture, in terms of spiritual sense of what it is to be human, in terms of connection, family, institutions, in terms of, I mean, my initial question was more to do with economics. It was to do with the finances of Western economies being so dependent on debt, and the fact that there's absolutely catastrophic economic crisis immediately on the horizon in 2008, which I foresaw from 2006, and we're now back in that world again times a few. So it's economically unsustainable. There's a great reckoning on the horizon from that perspective. But also in terms of innovation, I mean, you think when you look at technology and innovation, we've had some dramatic transformations in terms of software, but no great breakthroughs. I mean, maybe like the discovery of DNA was in the 50s. Gravity and relativity and quantum theory. I mean, a lot of these things are early 20th century. So what are the great breakthroughs of the last 60 years? Graphene is maybe something that people come with. It doesn't seem that, it's not as exciting. So it seems like we've kind of petered out in terms of our pace of pushing the envelope of understanding the nature of reality, whether that be physical or metaphysical. We've pretty much rejected the metaphysical, rejected the cultural origins that enabled the societies to flourish in the way that they did, and we've kind of lost interest in understanding the outside world from a genuine, deep perspective. It's all kind of superficial projection based on self-interest, and I don't think it always was. I think you can find periods where, late 18th century France or England, where people were trying to understand India, and a lot of that was out of genuine respect and yearning for this other perspective, and that's just one example.
I'm asking so much about, in the early 2000s, I'd made a documentary called India by Choice, and it was made with the Ministry of External Affairs as producers, and it was examining this whole after post-liberalization and during after Manmohan Singh's government had kind of established that there were a lot of expats who were choosing to live in India, but that kind of run its course, and the past 10 years you don't see that many expats are choosing. So that's why it's surprising that you've done this whole head math and come to this conclusion of wanting.
Yeah.
You've spoken about how India is not just rising economically, but also reclaiming its civilizational narrative, so to speak. And as someone who bridges the two worlds between the West and how do you see India's cultural narrative in the global space today? What stories are we telling?
I think the most obvious one is at the geopolitical level. It's that we're living in a multipolar world, that you have Europe, America, China, but also India, and increasingly India. I think that India, particularly in the last year after the G20 summit, has really started to present India as the voice of the global South, which is very interesting, again, as a counter to both European colonialism, American neoliberalism, Chinese expansion, and India's coming from a different angle. I think India's incredibly smart in use of technology for empowerment and upliftment through open source and open platforms, whether it be payments or identity or now commerce. And I think we're going to see a huge revolution with telemedicine, e-Sanjeevani just being the beginning of that, banking, finance. And I'm sure we'll see that with AI, with language translation, with access to public services. And all of that technology stack connected with space, low-cost satellite launches, is going to make India kind of like the go-to partner for countries across the global south, which means 80% of the world's population, to get out of the poverty trap that has blighted so many people for centuries, thousands of years, and do so in a way that is much softer and much friendlier than it either came with the strings that were attached through colonialism or Chinese investment. So that's very exciting. So I'm not, the world may not have woken up to this yet, but India is going to solve a lot of the world's problems. You saw that with India as the pharmacy of the world, generic medicine campaign. There's a lot of different ways that it'll happen, and that's going to accelerate in the coming years. And AI is going to be a big part of that.
But you're talking this about the global south looking at and India becoming the voice of that. How is it in the West? Does the legacy of India's past influence how it is viewed, or is there still Orientalism and mysticism which is associated with India, and that's how they look at it? Not as somebody going to take its place in the global scenario.
There was this Goldman Sachs report, which I remember well because I used to look at it 25 years ago or 20 years ago, about BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and then South Africa was added as an S. And these were the future economies. And what it was doing is it was talking about them as emerging markets. And you would have funds in New York Stock Exchange or in FTSE in London that were emerging market funds. And I think there's a lot of mindset in universities as well as governments and businesses, is that India is an emerging market. And what's a market? A place where things are sold and bought. So it's economic, it's financial, it's investment, it's return on investment. And for me, what's really exciting is India is a re-emerging civilization. So it's much more than just money. It's ideas, it's people, it's culture, and ways of seeing the world. And it's re-emerging because India was the civilization that at least 2/3 of humanity turned to for inspiration. So when you think of the rise of Buddhism through China, Korea, Japan, Southeast Asia, you think of the rise of influence of Hinduism in Southeast Asia and Hindu mathematics into China, and then of course through the Arab world and Christian world into Europe. And then you think of Columbus setting sail and Cabral discovering South America on the way to India, and the British East India Company, the Dutch East India Company, and the rise of banking and finance. Having one's attention on India.
That's the legacy of India's past.
Yes, but it's
but how is it interpreted in the?
Well, it's coming full circle, and that's why it's sort of this. I think this idea of re-emerging into the global consciousness. But what's really exciting is not the economic financial opportunity. It's the intellectual, psychological, technological innovation, creativity that is emerging from India and that will continue to influence the rest of the world.
As a British nationalist who studied Indian history, and as somebody who's chosen to live in India, and given our colonial past, what do you think the British got wrong about India completely, or what they didn't even, what they didn't see or let alone appreciated? What did they completely get wrong about India?
I think what the Brits got wrong and the Europeans got wrong is that they perceived India as being a society that was right hemispheric, that was all about relationships and hierarchies and all about the mystical and about the experience, rather than the analytical, the scientific, the rational, the mastery, the command of science and cutting up and understanding the world in pieces. And actually, India has always been both. And the genius of Indian civilization is it's always been trying to find a balance between the two. And when one shifts too far, it brings it back. So my favorite kind of examples of this are things like the Vedic yagyas. So Vedic ritual and offerings and yagyas are incredibly scientific and rational and left hemispheric in their organization and execution, in terms of the implements, the technology, the creating hardware, the measurements, the geometry, the mathematics, the understanding of the celestial cycles in astronomy in order to understand calendars and timing. So they're very left brain. That's Balaji's world. This is Silicon Valley technology, hardware and software, mantras being used in order to control, language being used in order to influence. The goals are the same. Immortality or full life is perhaps a better definition, I think. Health, wealth, prosperity for the community, power, influence, all of these children. I mean, these are the same things that Silicon Valley is trying to solve for, and that's what the yagyas are for. So India had that, but India also had bhakti. It also had the devotion. It also had the connection with the divine, whether it be nature or murtis or through temple worship or pujas. It had this kind of sense that love was the essence and was the way that we could connect beyond ourselves to a greater self. So that side of things was what was most visible to the European mind adventurers. And I think that is what ended up being what is the kind of stereotypes are all about. But actually that scientific or rational or logical or left hemispheric is my preferred way of doing it, was always there. And yoga, as in the union of the Atman, Brahman, or individual and supreme self, or left and right hemisphere, or Ida and Pingala and Sushumna. There's, throughout India, this why you have gods and goddesses and consorts, because there's always this need for balance. There's this need for harmony and coming together. I think that, the cliched stereotypes of the colonial mindset
remains,
only saw one side.
By and large, that's how
what
India
was
is
all
still
about.
viewed.
That trickle from the colonial past still remains, because by and large, that's how India is still viewed.
When we started the interview, you were saying that you chose to live in Delhi. And I'm curious, why, out of all the places, why did you choose Delhi to make home?
Trees and history.
Trees and history.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what makes Delhi so special, I think.
I'm sure you could have found trees
and the
elsewhere
people
also.
and the culture, but the trees are extraordinary,
Mm.
and so is the history.
True.
Bombay doesn't have either, of really. Bangalore, sadly, doesn't have so many trees as it used to, and it certainly doesn't have the history.
Yeah, that one can't argue with now.
Yeah.
I was reading somewhere that how you've spoken about how Delhi's architecture reflects the ambitions of its rulers, different rulers.
Yes.
How do you view that today in the context of Lutyens' Delhi today?
Well, I think that it's very interesting how Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the BJP government self-confident enough to be continuing an architectural conversation through Lutyens with Delhi's pasts, stretching back obviously to the underlying geology of the Dholpur buff sandstone and the Fatehpur Sikri pink sandstone, so the ultimate rocks and so on. And what's interesting is how Nehru and the intervening period broke from that. So the Nehru-Gandhi period we associate with brutalism and Moscow kind of utilitarian Udyog Bhavans and Shastri Bhavans. And or the buildings that you presumably used to work in on opposite Jantar Mantar, those concrete skate park type ramps. So that was, Stein and the Habitat Centre. And then if you go to Kartavya Path, formerly Rajpath, formerly Kingsway, you'll see that a lot of the buildings, my particular favourite actually, I think by far the best of all of them so far, is the Varnijya Bhavan, which is near India Gate.
Which Bhavan?
I think it's Varnijya. And you'll see that it's got the pink and the buff sandstones. And it also, extraordinarily, uses Edwin Lutyens' Delhi Order columns. Which were the ones that he had designed with the Mubidri-inspired temple bells made of stones that they would never toll for the end of the British Empire on Rashtrapati Bhavan and on the National Museum and the National Archives. And here we have them being used with the current government in one of the key ministerial buildings. So I think that's interesting because that's rightfully recognizing that, the local materials and the architectural forms are a palette that can be worked with, that chhajas make a lot of sense, that there's a lot of environmental intelligence from local inspired indigenous architecture, which somehow got kind of like forgotten or rejected post-independence. But now, like I said, I think the current government's confident enough to get back into that conversation.
And as somebody who's fond of history, interested in history, do you feel there are any forgotten or misunderstood stories about Delhi?
Jangpura?
Jangpura story, I know.
About Andrew Young?
Yes.
Yes.
No, you tell it.
Well, I mean, it's just a small thing, but the idea that I think it's very important to remember that Delhi was farmland and villages, and that whether it be the 17 cities of Delhi that have emerged at different times over the last several thousand years, there were always villages in between, and that out of those villages, we still obviously have, Palanji, and we have Zamrudpur in Greater Kailash and Housekas, and there's lots of them. It's easy to see them on Google Earth, and often you miss them when you're on the roads. But they're really interesting, and they're important parts of the culture in the city because they're actually providing a continuity to the past that the plots that were built around them obviously are detached from.
That's interesting what you said, because you think Delhi is in the danger of becoming like just about any other metro city in the world, or we'll be able to hold on to some of our culture and history, and there is a kind of revivalism going around in Delhi also. Yeah, something I do notice that there is a sense of kind of relooking at our history, enjoying it, and the younger generation.
Yeah, Delhi's the best city in the world. It really is.
That was really heartfelt.
Yeah. I mean, 25 million people, so larger than the population of Australia. So that's a challenge.
Yeah.
But that's cool. That means lots of creativity, lots of aspiration, lots of diversity in terms of culture and language and people trying different things. Lots of different built environments, more affordable accommodation. I mean, right from, the poorest people up to billionaire row in Amritsar, Gilmarg or somewhere. So you've got incredible kind of range. And you have the ability through the suburbs of, Greater Noida and Gurgaon, Sonipat, to expand with high-rise and sprawling campuses for IT companies and technology or universities. And yet you have this Shah Jahanabad and Lutyens' New Delhi, which are two of the most extraordinary planned cities ever created by completely different mindsets, although I would argue there's a lot in common between them. I think they're both very left hemispheric, interestingly, in terms of geometry and utility and so on. But to have those, and then the experiment of Gurgaon and what DLF have done, and this very kind of like organic growth, and then the planned grids and sectors of Noida and Greater Noida, it's so much is happening here. But you've got trees, you've got incredible climate. I mean, all of us complain most of the year about the weather or the pollution or whatever it may be. But the climate in Delhi is really exciting if you're a tree or a bird. and that's why we have, the second highest number of bird species of any city in the world, apart from Nairobi's number one. So the bird life is just fabulous.
How do you deal with the Delhi summer, by the way?
My wife and daughter think it's very funny, and it is quite funny. But I had 3 proper heat strokes last year, and I actually go a bit loopy.
Really?
I've forgotten the phrase, but I looked up the Mayo Clinic definition of heat stroke, and it was like delirious and it's more than brain fog. It's something like mental. I don't know. It's basically going crazy. So I can get quite emotional in May, and I don't trust myself in May.
Oh my God! And you still love Delhi?
Yes, because that's interesting. That's a challenge, and it's what you go to.
You've seen Delhi drastically change in the last 17 years. What are some of the most noticeable shifts that you've
Google
seen?
Maps.
Well, yeah, and which always go wrong.
It goes wrong, but it was easier than winding the window of the
and asking people,
the ambassador, and
asking. Would they understand what you was asking?
I would. Yes, of course.
You speak a bit of Hindi.
Only a little bit, but I used to have an Aisha. So growing up in England, we had maps everywhere, left hemisphere. Think of the British Trigonometrical Survey of India. Think of how of the British commanded and controlled India. It was all about measurement, precision, and then taxation related to that. And so there is a British obsession with maps, and that leads to awful situations like conflicts in the world today. I mean, we look at Kashmir, look at Pakistan, and India, look at Israel. These are maps British drew, imposing a left hemispheric order onto a natural environment that was much more fluid. So there is definitely something that is an obsession with maps in British and Western culture, which really is not there in India. So when I came to India, first thing I wanted to do, having grown up with London A to Z guides, getting which we used to literally walk around London with them in your pocket, because you never know where you were going to go, or you were going to go out for dinner or drinks or to a pub, and then like, how do I get home? How do I find the bus route? So I was like asking people when I first came here, where can I get an A to Z or where? And people were like, "What do you mean? You want a map? You want like a map of Delhi?" But that's how the left hemisphere Western mind works. I want a map. It's very interesting for me to reflect back on that now, having studied more of the history. So I got the Aisha guide. So there was an Aisha kind of map. And what was great about the Aisha map is that it had the blocks. So you could find B block 1 to 27 or C block 1 to 5. Because they were all marked out. It was a brilliant piece of work that Aisha did, providing that map. So I would be with my Aisha map and jumping in taxis and autos, going all over the city wherever I could, and then and now I just obviously stare at my phone and Google Maps. But interestingly, when I first met my wife, she was convinced that I'd lived in Delhi for years because I knew the city so well. And all I'd done is read lots of books and spent hours and hours, cumulative days, if not weeks, literally, spent looking at India on Google Earth.
Oh, okay.
So in 2007, Google Earth was pretty high quality images. And I would literally just be whenever I wasn't in India, I would be just exploring India on Google Earth and just trying to understand. So here's a test for you. On your phone, when you open up Google Maps, open up Google Maps on your phone and show me what it looks like. Because I think there's a big, and anyone who's watching or listening to us do the same thing. Right, okay, so this is super interesting. So you've got the normal kind of abstract map view,
and you have,
and I have the satellite view.
Oh, wow.
And my interpretation of this is that the abstract view is very left hemispheric, very British, very Western, very abstract, very detached from reality. Only gives you the bare minimum of information that you need in order to be able to get from A to B. Whereas the satellite view is very right hemispheric. It's full of information, trees, buildings, roads, traffic. You can just see so much when you open the satellite view. And now we have the cheapest data in the world in India. There's no excuse for the fact it costs more money to run the data on satellite view. And I encourage everyone to switch from the abstract view to the satellite view. And even in our car. So in our car, we have, we've got a fairly new car, so it has a screen where you can have the map showing. And again, we have the satellite view there. And then you're kind of driving along and you're seeing from above what's going on around you.
That's okay, I'm sold.
And the best test of why this is so powerful is when you look at Sanik Farms and Sangam Vihar. And when you look at the abstract map, it looks like there's people who live here, there's people who live there. And then when you look at it on Google Maps, suddenly you see farmhouses with swimming pools and densely packed streets of
just a street away from each other.
Right, like literally a street away from each other. And that's the power of the right hemisphere. That's the power of the ability to see the relationship and how everything's connected. And I used to just spend time on Google Maps in England when I wasn't here, just exploring Delhi and falling in love with places and finding places like Kirki Masjid and Motki Masjid. And
what were you looking for?
Anything. And everything's interesting. How do people live? Or what's the trees? What's this park? Or what's this monument? Or what's this gumbud? Where's the walls of Siri Fort? How did Siri connect or how did Jahapana connect Siri, the city of Siri, and Tughlaqabad? So where must that have gone? Where are the hills? Because obviously the genius of Delhi is that it's where the Aravalli hills meet the Yamuna River. So you've got water for transportation and irrigation and cleaning and so on. And you've got the hills for quartzitic sandstone that you can break up and use as fortifications and natural defenses that you can build up on top of, and artesian wells that you can drill down and get water through. So, there's a reason why Delhi's where it is, and it's all to do with geology. Otherwise, the city could be 100 kilometers north or 100 kilometers south. It's not. The most powerful city in northern India is in the location because it's got Aravalli and Yamuna. So all of these things come alive. So when we mentioned Jungpura, Jungpura. So Jungpura is named after Young, the city of Young, because on Raisina Hill there was a village, Raisina, and they wanted to move the inhabitants. The British wanted to move the inhabitants of Raisina so that they could build Viceroy's house, Rashtrapati Bhavan. And Young created this community, Jungpura, where as a resettlement colony. Khairpur, which used to be a village where Lodi Gardens is, which was Lady Willingdon Park. So the more you look at the maps, the more you understand the layers of history. And then you can do fun. I mean, Google Maps, sorry, I'm going off on one, but sponsored by Google Maps. Or Google Earth. Actually, Google Earth is maybe
we can approach them.
So on Google Earth, one of the things I love doing is overlaying maps and photos. So you can I take like photos of monuments, maps. Or Lucy Peck writes these beautiful books, Delhi and Agra, where she has these great maps that she's done. So if you want to know Nizamuddin or Shah Jahanabad, her maps have got everything marked out. And what you could do is you could take a photograph of the map, and then on your laptop you can overlay it, or even on your phone, overlay it as an image on top of Google Earth. And I've done that with kind of like old British maps of India from 1813 and 1870. And then you suddenly start seeing, where the roads once were, and what was underneath where we are right now.
I know about the Jungpura story because that was part of my constituency. But I got to know of the story afterwards. We had Dr. Swapna Little on an episode. and
Amazing.
we were discussing that. So what is Indogenous?
So Indogenous
Yeah.
is,
Where did the name come from?
so the name comes from, well, the idea is that we're celebrating the genius of India.
Okay.
So Indogenous is everything that I'm experiencing.
I thought you are the genius.
No, certainly not. No, I'm Gaurav Befkuf. Absolute look Indogenous, eh?
अच्छा, ठीक है.
Yeah, so that's the idea. So the idea is that our tagline is thinking from the future. So the idea is that Indogenous is the Indian civilizational understanding of human psychology. It's the incredible architecture. It's the mandirs. It's the language, the cuisine. It's the poetry. It's the philosophy. It's the history. It's everything that is extraordinary about India, including the natural genius of India. Fig wasps finding their way into pilkan fruit in order to get to the flower, which is the genius behind how the pilkan keeps going. Whatever it is, that's the genius of India. That's Indogenous. And then all I am is a kind of like enthusiastic observer of this, trying to share with initially our students and our university clients to encourage them to take India seriously, recognize the relevance of India to their lives, careers, past, present, future, to understand the importance of India. And then I literally just started doing the videos as a kind of tool to try and encourage more foreign students to apply for our programs. And that was only last year. So it's all...
Only last year?
Yes, it was January last year. Yes, so I'm very new to this.
So what do you think is the reason for your popularity? I mean, your reels are going viral, you have a massive following on Instagram.
I think I've been just lucky.
And it's here. No, come on.
I don't, well...
What do you think, I mean, have you thought of it? Like in a year, you're like viral constantly. What are the number of followers?
So we have 300 and something thousand on Instagram, and then there's a couple 100,000 here and there. I just think we've been lucky that the algorithm gods have blessed us. It's low quality,
high content.
High content, that's true. Yes, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. I wanted to say it's low effort, but it's become high effort. So it was low effort because we were literally just traveling around with our students, and what I would say to them, I would then just say I would just then hold up the camera and say to the camera. And that is how it started last year. And now when we don't have students, or when I'm just traveling around, I then do the same thing. But because we now know that there are people watching, I mean, it's so much easier when you're just, dancing like nobody's watching, right? So I was making reels like nobody's watching. And now suddenly we know that some people are watching, or at least, someone's going to watch it if I post it. It's then it's a huge responsibility. So there are times, and people have laughed and they've taken photos of me, where I will literally spend, I think the record is that there was one reel that I did actually in London, where I just spent 1 hour doing the same 60 seconds until I was happy with it. So I have that level of obsession sometimes, because I want to make sure I get the facts right. I want to make sure that the way I see it is anyone who gives you their attention,
whether for 60 seconds or longer,
is doing you such a favor and an honor that you have an obligation to give them something.
I agree.
Useful.
But tell me, was there any hesitation being a British man talking about Indian history? Did you think I'm an outsider insider comment?
Etik, Emek. No, I feel the opposite. I feel there's a responsibility. I think that particularly as someone who's British, or someone who's an outsider, or someone who's a guest, and particularly someone who has been welcomed so wonderfully and beautifully by pretty much everyone that I've ever interacted with in 18 years, that I absolutely owe it to, my wife, my daughter, and all the people who've helped me along the way and been part of my life. And all the people of India who, by extension have, to share my gratitude and try and do a good job as possible in terms of accuracy and interesting. And
But on the other side, you know, as somebody who's, like you said, you're translating Indian stories for a global audience.
yes,
Do you feel okay, there's a risk of oversimplification, especially in this reel format?
Yeah.
Are you conscious of that?
that's why it sometimes takes me so long to
because
do
you're
the
also
same
putting
thing.
it in that 60-second
Yeah.
or whatever time period that
Yes.
one is trying to.
If I have a talent or something which I wasn't aware of before, but I think that it's something to do with that. It's the trying to say something that people are aware of enough that they know that it's relevant, or that what I'm saying is correct because they already know that. And then something that they perhaps didn't know, or a connection that they hadn't previously made to something else that they knew but they didn't realize were connected. That's what that's what I'm always trying to do. I'm obviously, I don't always do it because, you know, but that's my idea of if I do a really good reel that I'm pleased with, it's telling a story that connects something that someone knows with something that they didn't know, or in a way that they didn't know.
But I'm happy you're making that effort because, you know, while I appreciate that, you know, history coming in this bite size is good for the younger generation, but I also, I mean, there's a lot of misinformation, because, you know, now everybody has a camera and can think of themselves as an influencer. There's a lot of danger of misinformation coming. So I'm happy that, you know, that's something you're very conscious of, and you take care
Very conscious
of that.
So
yeah.
I've everything I do professionally is to buy time to be able to read and learn about India, through travel and conversations, books, papers, etc. So I've done a lot of reading, thousands and thousands of books. I probably have, I think we've got about 5,000 books at home. In England, we've 20, 30,000, mostly my dad's. But in India, already accumulated many, many thousands. But I also have, I think the latest count is about 17,500 books and academic papers about India on my phone.
Oh, okay.
So I've created my own kind of like library, which is on the cloud, so I can access it anywhere, but primarily I do it through my phone, where I have, you know, every kind of book, journal, article that I've read. And I constantly am dipping in and out of that for inspiration, or actually not normally, often it's not inspiration now, it's more fact checking or double checking something. And then we have a wonderful audience. We're very, very lucky that when I post something, people will then comment, which is the best thing, or DM. I almost get more DMs than comments. We get a lot of messages, which is great. And I do try and reply to all of them. And I always heart my comments to make sure people know that I've at least read it and acknowledged it. So people either tell me something I didn't know, or give me an idea, or they will. I mean, touch wood, it's been very rare that they've corrected me. But sometimes someone will disagree, and then other people will actually. So the classic one is VT. Do you know about? Okay, so here's a good example. So I alluded to the fact that I was going to do a story about how the call sign on Indian airplanes is VT, and then a series of numbers. So if you look at when next time you're at the airport, look at the tails of the planes, and when you're getting onto the plane, you'll what's it called? Emplaning. Above the doorway, it will have like the registration number of the call sign of the plane. And in India, they all begin VT. Now, when I mentioned this, I knew that people would immediately jump into the comments on it, and sure enough, they did. Many people believe that the VT stands for either Viceroy territory or Victorian territory, either of which would, of course, allude to the fact here is something that is a colonial hangover. It's related to the British in India, and it's something that why hasn't the Indian government removed this and changed this? And another example of colonial hangovers that need to be dealt with. And actually, the VT comes from the fact that a whole sequence of digits were given to overseas territories of the British Empire, as it was in the 1920s. And Australia had VH, and Canada and other places had V something. So it was nothing, the V didn't stand for Viceroy or Victoria. It was,
but it comes from that time.
It comes from that time, but it's nothing to do with the Viceroys or the Victorians. So I knew that I would get some people who would to go for the urban myth, and then I would also hopefully have some of our.
So this you had put out as a question.
I'd mentioned the fact, and I still haven't actually done it. That I was going to do a reel on this, and you know, make sure you're following because I'll be talking about.
I will definitely. I also wanted to ask about the by now iconic INA market
Yes.
reel. What was the story behind it?
Well,
you just read about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that's just in your head.
Yeah.
And we were just on my way. We were driving past, and then I said, you know what INA stands for, Indian National Airways. It's like, no, surely it's Indian National Army.
Yeah.
And actually, if you go to Dilli Hut and you go to the subway, there's a depiction of Subhash Chandra Bose and the INA inside. There's a mural inside the subway, but the real story is that Willingdon Airport, as it was, had this area at the end of the runway, which is where Indian National Airways had their offices and warehouses for sorting things.
When I read the story and related it back, I actually thought it makes sense that INA market would be a market which has things from all over the world, because it was catering to pilots and air hostesses who were used to traveling and to have everything from across the world. So then it kind of made sense to me in that sense also.
Yeah, and Grant Govan, who was the founder of the Indian National Airways, which is why it's INA, he also was the founder of the BCCI, the Board of Cricket Control India.
Okay.
So he was kind of like a Richard Branson figure of British India in the 30s.
Tell me, have you ever thought why your content is so popular? That in 1 year, have you ever given that a thought? Is it relatable, or is it your enthusiasm which comes through? What do you think? What makes it popular? Or do we have the colonial hangover of enjoying a white guy telling us about our own history?
I'm not sure that's what it is. I think I wonder sometimes. But I think people are genuinely interested in learning about India, and they're surprised that an outsider would be as enthusiastic as I am. So I don't think it's that because I mean So I'm disagreeing with what you're saying. I do not think it's because I'm a white guy that people are going, oh well, because he's British, he knows what he's talking about. I don't think it's that at all. I think it's look, he's a white guy and he appreciates this. He's excited about our trees or Navratri or our history. So maybe my children can as well, or maybe I can as well. And my favorite thing by far is when someone comes up to me and they say that they show my videos to their children, and it honestly, it's emotionally just so wonderful.
But
to know that.
I said an outsider and a white guy, but do you still feel like an outsider in Delhi? I mean, I believe people have started calling you Chacha.
Yeah,
on the streets.
That happens like a couple of times for some reason at like Taj Mahal, because I end up going to Taj Mahal quite often. Well, because when we have a group of students or visitors, people want to go. So I've been 30, 40, 50 times. And I always try and learn something new about Taj. The last video that I did, which I didn't post because there's always so many things you can do at Taj Mahal, but one that I did at Taj is I pointed out that this is the most famous brick building in the world.
Brick building?
Yeah. It's made out of red bricks. And nobody thinks that the Taj Mahal is a red brick building, but it is. It's a red brick building with white marble cladding, but it's just it's just cladding. Yeah. It's red brick. And what I asked for, actually, I spoke to Archaeological Survey of India, and I asked them, do you have any photographs of the bricks behind the cladding? And they thought that they did in an archive, but because I couldn't find them online. So I think the reason why I didn't post it was yet, and I will do, is because I want to get that picture. Because when you go to Saftujung's tomb, for example, and I have done this wheel, you can see how the Saftujung's tomb, they were running out of Shah Shuja, sorry, not Shah, Shuja ud Dola, when he, the Nawab of Awadh, who built Saftujung for his father, they were running out of money. So the Saftujung's tomb is a red brick building, but it's just plastered on the front rather than clad. So you can actually see where that's starting to break away. And you know that Shuja ud Dola's cavalry were Sheikhzadis, and you know who the Sheikhzadis are? Kidwais.
Oh, okay.
So Kidwais were the key kind of cavalry.
So tell me, can you share a personal anecdote about when you truly felt that you belong to city, not as a guest, but I belong here?
Quite often I just end up wandering off. Yeah, there was a British guy who lived here, I'm sure he still visits, I haven't seen him in a while, but called Sam Miller. Who wrote a beautiful book.
He was in that film we were talking about.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he wrote this beautiful book, Delhi Adventures in a Megacity.
Yeah.
And he had this, only Sam would do this, completely crazy idea of starting in Connaught Place and then walking out in a spiral to randomly experience things. And I loved that idea. And I think there's often times where I just end up getting in an auto and go somewhere slightly different or take a different route or go via, I see something on Google Maps and I just think, I've got enough time to be able to go via that. So then I feel like I'm in the city and I'm enjoying it, and I feel very relaxed here. So I feel at home here.
What does it say about Delhi that the city has also embraced you? Or embraces everybody? There are no outsiders in Delhi.
It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
I mean, you have this, every part of India is represented in Delhi, either as immigrant workers or as, government civil servants, public servants, or, state bhavans and so on. So you got the whole of India
I agree.
in Delhi.
Yeah.
And you got the whole of the world as well.
Yeah.
So, I meet Chinese people, I meet Russians. That's not something that you do so often everywhere. Lebanese, Israelis.
You also mentioned that, falling in love here helped you fall in love with here. What is your personal love story? How has that been a part of the Delhi journey? So your wife Meetu is from Delhi.
Yes, my wife Meetu is very much from Delhi. Her father actually set up the Lodi Garden restaurant in Lodi Garden. So
it used to be my favorite.
So she's a proper Delhi girl through and through. Unfortunately, I found a Delhi girl that didn't want to move to UK or anywhere. So we fell in love, and then there was that conversation. You do realise the plan is to stay here, not go to UK. And we're completely aligned in the way we see the world and where we want to be and where we consider home. So we fell in love in 2008, and we got married for the first time in 2009. Court wedding, suck it. Typewriters on the street, 28 days. Anyone have any objections to these two getting married?
30-day notice, no?
Yes, 30-day notice. And then we had unencouraged because Meetu's mother is Sikh. We also had Farah's father was Hindu, and I actually wanted to do Hindu fairs. And then we had a Christian wedding in England a year later. So we had 4 weddings over 2 years.
Wow. Okay.
Which is Ambani level kind of ambition.
Celebration, yeah. Okay, tell me, what's a question that people always ask you and you wish they wouldn't? And one question which you wish they would ask you more?
This is so cheeky.
It's a simple question.
What's a question that
people ask you that you wish they wouldn't?
One of the things that often happens over the years is a presumption of ignorance, like total ignorance. And I'm a very ignorant guy. I don't know much about anything. But when people immediately presume you know nothing, and you have to go through this kind of like little dance for a while to show actually I'm okay with spicy food, and I know what chole bhature is, or the difference between the Mughals and the Lodis, or whatever it may be. You know what I mean. It's like just demonstrating actually no, I'm comfortable here. That's can be frustrating. I feel bad saying this because it's normally out of complete loving decency and treating guests well, but it's just a little bit like let's get straight to the action and have a conversation about it. And one of the great joys and blessings of the social media stuff is that it's the opposite now. Is people are going straight for the hard questions at the beginning. So they're immediately asking, which period of Indian history would you wish you had been born in, or just so.
Have you ever given that a thought?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of interested in Ujjaini. And Udaygiri. I think Udaygiri, Gupta, kind of 4th century, 5th century. Yeah, but I would have been hanging out with the astronomers and that amazing cave hill with Chandragupta. He can go off and do the fighting, and I'll stay observing the stars and worshipping Vishnu.
He probably would have let you do that.
I hope so.
Yeah, because okay, now we have to do a quick rapid fire kind of a thing.
Yeah.
About Delhi. So you might find the questions a little obvious. Chai or coffee?
Actually, coffee.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Okay, best coffee in Delhi.
Oh, I'm a complete Blue Tokai loyalist.
Okay, Ghalib or Shakespeare? What do you enjoy more?
Shakespeare. Oh. Sorry.
No. Why should you be? Yes. Delhi winters or Delhi summers?
I played Hamlet when I was 16.
Okay. So Delhi summers, Delhi winters. I think that answer is obvious.
Yeah, winters. Yeah, for sure.
Favorite monument in Delhi?
Ooh. That's actually a very hard question.
I'll give you 3 then. Top 3 monuments.
Place that fascinates me the most is Purana Kila.
If you'd asked me one, I would have said Purana Kila.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's extraordinary.
Yes.
And I was very fortunate. Once last year, I went to Purana Kila and ASI had exposed the whole of the hill at the back, the side at the back. And you were able to see Mughal, Lodi, Rajput, Maurya, Gupta, Maurya, all the way going down. So you had the whole of Indian history in these layers. And there was this Mauryan ring well at the base of the hill. And obviously, Indraprastha below that potentially. So what was extraordinary was that this was a visual timeline, and it made you realize that when you think of partition, and then obviously a present day Purana Kila and the world that we live in, everything that's happened in that space, and what secrets remain to be uncovered under Purana Kila. It's extraordinary place.
Giving me goosebumps. Okay, most overrated spot in Delhi.
Most overrated spot in Delhi.
It has to be something. You can't be liking everything in Delhi.
No, what? What don't I like? There must be something I don't like about Delhi.
You can't think of one thing you don't like?
Tell me some things that you don't like.
That I don't like?
Yeah.
Most overrated spot as for me. Most overrated spot in Delhi. I don't like Sainik Farms.
Sainik Farms? Yeah, well, that's okay, farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like Sainik Farms.
Yeah, I thought you meant something more kind of like historic.
No, historically, I can't find a fault with anything. But as a place and as a slice of life, scenic farm is something which I feel is an experiment gone wrong
Yeah.
in many ways. Okay, our most underrated neighborhood.
Most underrated neighborhood.
Is it where we are sitting? This is one of the most beautiful.
Kunzum.
Kunzum
Kunzum Bookshop.
Cafe.
Yeah, Kunzum Bookshop. Most underrated.
Think it's
Humayunpur.
Yeah,
That's underrated.
I would agree with you.
That's very special.
Yeah, very special.
Monuments,
shops, food, like
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to agree on that one. But even you said Kunzum, and I think Kunzum actually is now becoming almost like a tourist destination for Delhiites to go, for people coming from outside.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that a bookshop, we anyway have famous bookshops with Bhari Sons and Fakir Chand, but that's nice that a new one is also taking its place in a little different kind.
Exactly, and it's very good for inspiring you to read something that you hadn't previously thought of.
Yeah, because
It's
they
a
have so much
different kind of
space for
yeah.
display. I think that makes
You're
a
seeing the
difference,
covers
yeah.
instead of the spines.
Yeah, that makes a difference.
And for children, it's fabulous
Yes.
because it feels very inviting and open.
True,
and
true.
Yeah, it's a
Okay,
great place.
Delhi slang you've picked up.
Ki farak banda hai.
Okay, if you had to describe Delhi in 3 adjectives, what would they be?
Microcosmic,
Okay,
macrocosmic, energizing,
that's a unique one.
seductive.
Okay.
Yeah, microcosmic, seductive, and
Mm.
energizing.
Oh wow. All
It's a
right.
very seductive place, Delhi.
I'm sure, considering you've spent 17 years here, it
Yeah.
has to be.
Yeah. And there's
Um,
something in the water,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, when they get you. We mix something and hold on to people here.
Yeah.
But thank you, Nick. Thank you so much for your time. And
Such a
I'm going to
pleasure.
start following you. And I know, we connected over the Pandara Road.
Yes, Pandava Road.
Yeah,
See, that
Pandava-
story, I learnt that story
Huh.
from Swapna Little.
Yeah, I also learned it from Swapna Little.
And I did mention that in the caption. I very clearly and very proudly. I
Yeah.
always acknowledge my sources
Oh,
if
that's
it's something
lovely,
that's
yeah.
unique. And
Yeah.
Swapna's work is absolutely
Yes.
fantastic.
And I think she simplifies history in such a... I mean, she just
Yeah.
normalizes it
She's
completely.
brilliant.
Yeah.
And I'm forever grateful for that because it's interesting. It's curious. And again, of course, Pandava Road connects us to Purana Kila and
Yeah,
where
true.
we
Yeah,
were.
true. Two of our favorite
we went,
places. So thank you so much, and I hope we can get you back again because there is your journey in Delhi will continue, and hopefully
Well, now I
we'll
know
have
the
much-
kind of questions you ask me, Yasmin.
Now I'll change it around completely. That'll be completely different. You should do one with me now next time.
Yes, let's do that. Yes, please.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Real pleasure.
Nick Booker came to India 17 years ago, and Delhi made him a storyteller and everyone's favorite chacha on Instagram. In an era where algorithms threaten history, choosing sensationalism over substance, engagement over accuracy, Nick is out there giving Indian history texture and a relatable voice. Thank you, Nick, for reminding us that love for a city can come from across oceans, and that sometimes it takes an outsider to help us see the beauty in our own backyard.